Hi there. I want to thank you for your interest in my upcoming class, The Context and Challenges of War Commemoration, Confederate Statues and Activist Art in America. My name is Hannah Wong, and I got my PhD in art history at the University of Texas. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about this upcoming class, sort of what we're going to be doing week to week. But at the very heart of this class is this idea of, could we use art history as a way of having productive conversations and understanding and learning around Confederate monuments and the space around them, whether it is being reclaimed by African American artists or being viewed by us in the class, or in response or in relation to public monumentation, for instance, on the Austin Capitol grounds. So in this first lecture, what we'll be doing is considering the context of Confederate monuments within Western art history canon, and actually maybe even going as far back as the ancient Near East, specifically public monuments, and even more specifically, war monumentation. And these precedents include something that we're seeing right here, the Arch of Titus, with its inner panel, which represents the sacking of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, one of Titus's conquests, to a much more modern arch, which is also a war monument of a much different kind located in Paris. But I'm also interested in this first lecture to present some of the challenges that were very apparent even in its immediate sort of making and presentation initially when it was rolled out. For instance, Rodin's The Burghers of Calais. This beautiful monument, we're seeing just one of the examples of this. This was cast several times, was problematic from go. And so I'd like for us to explore the ways in which war monuments or public monuments actually are not as cut and dry as we might imagine. So for instance, here, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which at its very inception was really problematic for both the people who were paying to create it, the receivers of it, the viewers, and the artists themselves. The question here is, how does a country commemorate a major tarnish, a tragedy in their history? So in the second lecture, what we're going to be doing is examining the Confederate monument in relation to its role as a public monument, in addition to a war monument. So what is it like to see these monuments in situ, in their environments? Because one of the major problems with the discussions oftentimes around Confederate monuments is that it's detached from the actual physical context in which they are situated. And so this is kind of a twofer lesson in that we're going to be thinking through how to look at public monument statues, just generally, and then specifically how Confederate monuments fit into that. So I'll be sending you all off with worksheets in which you can go and visit. For those of you in Austin, I'd urge you to go visit the Texas Capitol grounds, where there is a Confederate soldiers monument, as well as a lot of other public monuments, and do a sort of comparison. You're going to answer the different questions on this worksheet and learn how to see these objects in their environments. So this is really kind of an empirical study. You're going to be gathering information on your independent sort of self-guided tour. And then for class 2, what we're going to do is gather together and have a conversation. For those of you who are not in town, I'm both going to tape my walking around this Confederate statue on the Texas Capitol grounds. So you'll see this video, but I also urge you to take this worksheet and go to any sort of public monument space, whether that be at some state government location or even a cemetery where you're looking at these kind of public monuments. And in that way, you're going to walk through and think about all the kinds of things, where it's positioned, the kind of text that's included on these monuments, and so on and so forth. So it's practice in looking at an art object that's placed outside for public viewing. Then in lecture 3, we have a guest speaker, Professor Sarah Beetham, who is an expert in Civil War monumentation. Wrote her dissertation on it and is often called by the news media to comment on Confederate monuments. It should be an excellent time of Q&A and a little live interview that we're going to conduct. And then for our fourth and final class, what we'll be doing is considering the ways in which African-American artists have responded to Confederate monuments, whether in those exact spaces or just sort of across the way, or in the mind's eye, as we see right here with the Kehinde Wiley's Rumors of War. Wiley is thinking about some Confederate monuments that are quite nearby and certainly in the state of Virginia, and recreating his own sort of monument that is a response. We'll also be looking at artists who are not particularly looking at a Confederate monument, so to speak, but in spaces that were claimed by practices of slavery. So right now what we're looking at is this work here, which is a mixed media piece that was temporarily installed in a space on Princeton University's campus where slaves were sold. So I really hope that you will join us for these 4 weeks of learning. I think it will be absolutely a meaningful time, and I hope to see you there. Thanks so much.